Welcome, family, to The Spotlight. I'm J. Anthony Smith, the travel show where we go around celebrating and honoring black men that are doing positive things in the community. Now, we've been in Nashville, Tennessee, Music City, and we've seen the sights and sounds, and we've been able to sit down and talk to some very inspirational brothers. Well, this next brother is no different. Now, in any major community, the barbershop is a mainstay for black men. It's where we can go and sit down and get a good shave or haircut, talk about politics, religion, relationships, sports, all things that are sacred to men. Well, this next brother has taken that idea to the next level. You see, he was facing many years in prison, and due to a chance opportunity, he was able to turn his life around and become a millionaire, and he's been showing others how they can do the same. We sat down and talked to Nwani, and Chen is going to tell us how a barbershop saved his life.
Hey everybody, my name is Uchendi, also known as Chen. Many people ask, where did you get that name? My biological dad is Nigerian, Igbo. My mom is American. They met at Fisk University years ago, got married, got a brother and sister. So that's how I got my name. I graduated from Hunter's Lane back in 1989, and after that I went to barber school. After barber school, I went to college. Now, before I went to barber school, my mom was not going to let me go because she said, you got to go to college. Because in my mom's house, if you don't go to college, you got to get out. My brother went to college for 1 year, didn't want to go, so my mom put him out. She stressed education in our house. She graduated from Fisk University, had a master's degree. My dad, he had a doctorate degree, actually, and he was from Nigeria, as I said earlier. When I went to college, I sold cocaine all through college, and I was in the School of Business. A lot of people ask, well, why did you sell cocaine? Well, when I was 8 years old, my mom remarried a Baptist minister, and every Sunday he'd preach his brains out and say, God's going to open up the windows of heaven, pour out a blessing so big you wouldn't be able to receive it. Everybody in the church would jump around, run around, shouting and all that, but we never had money. Every Christmas, I got a $100 bill. So I was thinking, you know, they're tithing, they're doing all this, why we don't have money? So as a young, immature person, I'm thinking that that really didn't work. So I chose the path to sell cocaine because I figured that was the role models that I saw in my neighborhood. I didn't see any rich black men. I didn't see any men that were prospering. There were only 2 men in the church that were prospering, and there was a guy that was a dentist, and then there was a doctor. I knew I was not going to become a doctor because they went to college for 4 years, then another 4 or 5 years, and I knew I wasn't going to go all that time because I barely got to college. I scored a 15 on the ACT after taking it 3 times, so I knew I wasn't going to do that. Well, all through college I sold cocaine, and from 90 to 93 I pretty much took over the whole city. Any cocaine that came through, it was probably my cocaine. Well, October the 12th, 1993, a drug bust went down, and I was in college at Tennessee State University taking my midterm exam downtown at the Avon Williams campus. And my beeper kept going off, and I knew something was wrong, so I just got up out of the chair and turned my test in and went outside the classroom and called, and they said the guys had got busted. So I'm thinking, I'm not going to be in trouble because I got so big, I wasn't touching anything. I was just getting the money and counting the money. So, make a long story short, they were looking for me and charging me with conspiracy. And I didn't know what conspiracy was. You know, the last time I heard about conspiracy was with Brutus and Shakespeare. So I went out on the run because I didn't want to go to prison, because all of the movies that I had seen on prison, you know, they feed you bread and water, and if you drop the soap, you know, something might happen. So I was scared and fearful of going to prison. So I finally turned myself in, and I was facing 30 years to life. And I asked God to give me 10 years. I knew all of the stuff that had happened from all of the people that are not living to this day. I mean, just so much stuff had happened. So I said, God, just give me 10 years. And you got to watch what you ask God to give you. Whatever you want God to give you, you need to tell him and ask him. And make a long story short, at the 2 years, I went in that courtroom and I talked to the judge in front of the whole courtroom. Everybody talked. He had never heard me talk. I was quiet during the whole case. And he said, well, Mr. Nwani, do you have anything to say before I give you your time? And I looked at him in his eye. And I said, Your Honor, this is the biggest mistake I ever made in life. I've hurt a lot of people, probably killed a lot of people. I've caused a lot of divorces, probably a lot of crack babies. I just want a second chance at life. I said, not for me, but for my mom. And I said, if I get a second chance, I promise to do right and make good on everything. And he looked at me. And everybody had talked in the courtroom, all these character witnesses, and he just had his head down, was just ignoring everybody. And when my dad got up there to talk, who was a minister, he was looking, he raised his head and he started shaking his head and, you know, agreeing and all that. Because my dad said, I didn't raise that boy like that. And, you know, he just went through my whole life and everything. Because I was in college on the dean's list. I was taking 18 hours every semester. Every semester. I was on my way to graduating in 4 years. I'm running a major cocaine operation, running women. I mean, I'm just doing everything. I was a busy person. But the judge looked at me. He said, you know what, Mr. Nwani? I believe I could give you probation and you'll never do another thing in life. And I'm thinking in my head, darn, you know, there is a God. He going to give me probation. I'm going to walk out of this courtroom. But then he just switched like a Gemini. He said, you know what? I'm sick and tired of you crack dealers. Y'all are murderers. You baby killers. Y'all the worst scumbags on earth. And I'm thinking, darn, dude, give me more than the 10 years and I done signed the papers. And he said, but you know what, Mr. Nwani? I'm going to give you that boot camp. Now, that boot camp was 6 months. It's where they built this federal boot camp for white-collar criminals. People like computer hackers, insider traders, bankers, you know, the Madoff people, people like that, Michael Milken, you know, of that caliber. And they select 200 people a year out of over 100,000 applicants. There was nothing but God to get a black cocaine dealer. I'm the only black dude in the courtroom. The stenographer who's typing everything is white. The whole courtroom. So for me to be able to get that, and I didn't have to snitch on nobody, that was God. November 15th, 1995, I was released from that federal boot camp with $150, a 28-hour bus ride home. I'm a convicted felon. I'm a black man, if you want to pull the race card, although I don't. I have no driver's license because I had a $20 ticket that I didn't pay because I was locked up in prison. They didn't come get me when it was time for my court. So that $20 ticket turned into $1,400. So they took my license and I was going to have to pay $1,400 for reinstatement to get the license back. So I got all these strikes against me. But it does not matter what man says, because the judge said, you understand, when you sign these papers, you will be a convicted felon for the rest of your life. You may not be able to vote. You may be denied jobs and all that. And I'm saying, yes, Shauna, that's what man says. It doesn't matter what man says, what God says. I'm at the halfway house, can't find a job. I immediately started back cutting hair because I had a barber license. Remember, I went to barber school right after high school. Booker T. Washington said you need a trade. W.E.B. Du Bois said education. I say you need both. That way you just armed with both guns. Well, I started back cutting hair, doing eyebrows, men's feet. They called me all kind of sexual, derogatory names, but it didn't matter as long as they didn't put their hands on me. I'm charging $3 at the halfway house. If they didn't have money, I still did it. At the prison, I cut hair for 3 cents an hour. At the other place downtown, the county jail, I cut hair for sodas and snacks and M&Ms and honey buns and all. I had a bus tub full of stuff. The guys that didn't have money or whatever, the big guys, I'd give them Snickers, candy bars, all types of stuff. So I became friends with everybody in there. So nobody messed with me. Because, you know, a big old dude that's hungry and I'm giving him honey buns and chips, he became my best friend. So that's what I did while I was there. old lady gave me a job, Miss Hattie Burns. And while I was in college, I'd passed this building. I'd been in the building to pass this salon. And there was 2-3 chairs in there. One was always empty. And there was 2 ladies in there. And I'd go past there, one lady was Michelle and Irma. And one day, when they was about to send me back to prison, they said I had a week left. Something told me just turn around and go in there and ask if they needed a barber. Now I'm thinking, I know they ain't gonna hire me. But I done went everywhere, all the fast food places, everywhere. And I went in there and I said, I told the lady I needed a job. She said, are you licensed? I said, yes, ma'am. I have a master barber license because my mama kept my license up while I was in prison. She paid the fees and stuff. And I told the lady my story. I'm a convicted fella. I told her everything I had done, my background, my parents, and all of them. And the lady looked at me. She looked at me up and down. She said, you know what? I'm going to give you a job. Because you said, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. You got your pants pulled all up. And the way that you address me, your shirt is tucked in. You look like somebody. You don't have all of that gold teeth and tattoos and the braids and your pants hanging off. She said, you look like you're a decent young man. I'm going to give you a job. Just by me, with my attitude, my appearance, my attire, that lady gave me a job. And that literally changed my life because I would have been back. Well, I worked there, $10 a head. And I never forget at that federal boot camp, there was a man named Bill Young, a little Chinese dude worth over $30 million. And I said, Young, how y'all get all that money? Because we working in the fields like slaves, 17 hours a day. And he said, we live like black people won't live for a couple of years. After that, we live like black people can't. And I said, what do you mean by that? And I'm getting the little attitude inside. And he said, you black people, you buy all those high-priced tennis shoes, you buy all that gold and jewelry and Cadillac, you dumb, you stupid, you waste money. Us Chinese people. He said, I came over here with no money. 15 of us lived in a 1-bedroom apartment. I worked 2-3 jobs. I save my money. I shop at secondhand stores, Goodwill. I take sack lunch to work. You black people, you don't do that. You lazy, you don't work. And I'm thinking, I said, well, y'all didn't argue nothing? No, he said, well, you work 2-3 jobs, you come home, you sleep, you too tired to argue. You black people, you lazy, you stay at home, you don't work, y'all fuss and cuss and fight all day. And I'm just sitting there listening to him. And I'm thinking, dang, I grew up in the hood, and where I'm from, there is some truth to that, a lot of truth. And he said, you black people, he just kept going on. And I said, well, what I need to do? And he told me, he gave me the blueprint. I shopped at Goodwill, places like Walmart. When I came home, I took sack lunches to work from the halfway house. I took, a full-time schedule, and I worked full-time. And I rode the MARTA, the city bus. When I got back to college, everybody laughed because I had secondhand shoes, secondhand clothes. I'll never forget the Timberland boots. I bought some secondhand from Goodwill. They were fake Timberlands, and they called them Kims instead of Tims. But it didn't matter what they were saying about me. 93, I left, went back, I went off to prison, whatever. I get back 96 because the case lasted 2 years. Then I had 6 months in the county, then 6 months at the federal place. So that was my 3 years. And they said, where you been? And where you been doing? They knew where I'd been because the police had been up to TSU looking for me. Some of them same jokers that were seniors when I left was still seniors. And I'm thinking, what you been doing? You still here. So when I came home, one thing you can't get back is time. My dad was sick. He had that stroke. He's like a baby now. My mom had, diapers on him. I mean, it just messed up everything. So I'm racing against time. Something that you can't get back. See, my why is now different than everybody else's at Tennessee State and college. Different than everybody in the whole city. I have a different why. So I cut off everybody. I cut myself off from society. I didn't watch TV. I didn't listen to radio. I was only listening to motivational stuff. The Joel Osteen, the Zig Ziglar, the T.D. Jakes, the Tony Robbins. I mean, it was just straight positively or nothing. I cut Man, Bobo. I cut all them people off. Shaniqua, Shanae, all of those people were cut off. So I just isolated myself basically from society. And I was like a horse in a horse race, just tunnel vision, and I didn't let anybody get me defocused. When they asked me for something, the answer was no. Because I couldn't say yes, it was no, because I was on a mission. Those were time thieves. You know, when you're on a mission, you just got to straight like a horse in a race. He ain't looking to the left, he ain't looking to the right, he's looking toward that goal. And so that's how I was and still am when I got out. Well, make a long story short, when I walked across that stage, I had over $40,000 saved from cutting hair. Now, I put a flyer up in every room at Tennessee State University under every dorm door. My mama gave me like $100. She hand wrote on the flyer because she was an art teacher. Attention, ladies and gentlemen, to TSU, the best barber in the world, fade of all fades. I woke up early that morning, caught the MARTA of the city bus to Kinko's, and got as many copies, probably about 5,000 copies or whatever, and I put them under every dorm door, and I posted it all up over TSU with scotch tape in every room. And when people would come in, I would cut their hair. If they didn't have money, I cut their hair, because they would go tell somebody else, and I give them business cards, and I said, if anybody asks who cut your hair, who arched your eyebrows, give them this card. By then, I was making over $200 a day. Now, I'm going to school at night. I'm working at the campus salon in the daytime. By the time I got back to the Federal Halfway House, it's 11 or 12 o'clock every night. Then I'm cutting hair, doing eyebrows, doing their feet until probably 2 or 3. I go to sleep for probably a few hours. You don't need a lot of sleep. I can sleep when I go to heaven. Sleep is for successful people. That's what sleep is for. You don't need to sleep if you're not successful. You haven't reached your goal, you don't deserve to sleep. You know, that's like in that movie where he says, coffee is for closers. That movie with Gordon or Gary or whoever. So sleep is for closers. Now, eagles have a vision. You know, an eagle has over 7,000 feathers. When it's cold outside, it positions its body where its body stays warm inside. When it's hot outside, it positions its feathers where its body stays cool inside. The moral of the story, don't let your environment get inside you. I don't care. I may be a convicted felon, went to prison, a black man, no driver's license, no money, none of that. That does not matter. That's on man standards. Eagles, when storms come, they fly straight toward them and fly above and beyond. You know, an eagle can see above and beyond where it is. It doesn't matter where you are. You got to be able to see where you want to go. You got to have a vision. You know, an eagle can see a mouse 3 miles away, you know, 300 yards away. That's like 3 football fields. So you got to be like an eagle. Now, when I'm out and I'm going to the halfway house, working, then I got my degree, what did I do with that money when I graduated?